Marcus Chen wiped down the bar counter for the third time that hour. The cloth moved in slow, careful circles across the metal surface. His movements were quiet and steady. Around him, the cantina buzzed with alien voices speaking in dozens of languages. Nexus Station was home to every kind of creature in the galaxy. The massive space station floated in neutral space, where traders and diplomats met to do business. Down here in the lower levels, the bars and shops were cheap and dirty, perfect for people who wanted to stay hidden. Marcus had been working at the Void's Rest for 2 years now. The bar was small and dark, with flickering lights and old furniture. Most customers were traders looking for cheap drinks, or workers trying to forget their troubles. Marcus served them all without asking questions. He looked human, but that meant nothing special out here. Humans were common on the station. Most people saw them as just another species trying to make a living. Nothing important, nothing dangerous. "Another round," called out a Yulian trader from across the room. The blue-skinned alien waved his empty glass in the air. Marcus nodded and filled 3 glasses with the local alcohol. He walked over and set them down without a word. The trader dropped some credits on the table and went back to his conversation. The day was ending like any other. Marcus counted the credits in the register and started cleaning glasses. A few regular customers sat at their usual spots, drinking quietly. Everything was peaceful. Then the doors slid open with a loud hiss. 5 figures stepped into the bar. They were tall, almost 7 feet high, with thick scales covering their bodies. Red eyes glowed in their reptilian faces. Their uniforms were black with silver markings that showed high rank. Krillian Imperial Guards. The cantina went quiet. Even the music seemed softer. Krillians were bad news. They came from a military empire that controlled dozens of star systems. They saw other species as beneath them, especially humans. The guards looked around the bar with disgust. Their leader, a massive Krillian with scars on his face, pointed at an empty table. "This place smells like fear," he said in heavily accented standard. His voice was deep and rough. The guards sat down hard, making the chairs creak. Other customers looked away and spoke in whispers. Marcus kept cleaning glasses, but he watched them from the corner of his eye. "You," the leader called out. "Human." Marcus looked up. "Yes? Bring drinks. Your strongest alcohol." Marcus set down his glass and moved to the bar. He selected a bottle of Terran whiskey and 5 glasses. His hands were steady as he poured. When he brought the drinks to their table, the guards were already talking loudly about their day. "The humans on this station grow more bold," said one guard. "They walk with their heads up like they matter." "Disgusting," agreed another. "They forget what they are. Conquered animals." Marcus set down the drinks without comment. As he turned to leave, the leader grabbed his arm. "Wait, human." Marcus stopped. The grip was strong enough to hurt, but he showed no pain. "What do you think about that?" the leader asked. "About humans who forget their place?" "I think everyone deserves respect," Marcus said quietly. The guards burst into laughter. The sound was harsh and ugly. "Respect?" The leader's red eyes glowed brighter. "You think your soft species deserves respect? Your kind was beaten in every war. Humans surrender and beg for mercy." Marcus said nothing. His face remained calm. "Look at this one," said another guard. "So brave with his words, but I bet he runs at the first sign of trouble." The leader stood up. He was twice Marcus's size. "Tell me, bartender, what would you do if I decided to destroy your little bar? Would you fight? Or would you cry like the rest of your kind?" "I would clean up the mess," Marcus said. This made them laugh even harder. The leader pushed Marcus backward. Marcus stumbled but caught himself. "That is what I thought. No backbone. No honor." The guards spent the next hour making noise and causing problems. They knocked over chairs. They threw food on the floor. They spoke loudly about how weak and pathetic humans were. Other customers left one by one. Nobody wanted trouble with Imperial guards. Marcus kept working. He picked up the thrown food. He cleaned spilled drinks. He reset the fallen chairs. All while the guards watched and laughed. "Look at him," one guard said. "Like a trained pet. Clean, human. Clean up after your betters." When the guards finally left, they threw their empty glasses on the floor. The sound of breaking glass filled the silent cantina. "Remember your place, human," the leader said from the doorway. "Next time we come, show proper respect." The doors closed behind them with a final hiss. Marcus stood alone in his ruined bar. Broken glass covered the floor. Tables were overturned. The smell of spilled alcohol filled the air. He walked to the storage room and got a broom. Then he began to sweep up the glass. His movements were the same as always. Slow, careful, methodical. But as he worked, something flickered in his eyes. For just a moment, they went cold and hard, like winter metal, like the edge of a blade. He had scars on his hands. Old ones, thin and white. The kind that came from knives and burning metal. The kind that came from war. Marcus finished cleaning and turned off the lights. As he locked the door, his reflection appeared in the dark glass. For a second, it looked like someone else entirely. Someone dangerous. Then he walked away into the shadows of the station's corridors. Just another human trying to get by in the galaxy. Nothing special. Nothing dangerous. Or so it seemed. 3 days passed, and the Krillian guards came back. Marcus was serving drinks to a group of cargo workers when the doors opened. The same 5 guards walked in, looking pleased with themselves. The cantina went quiet again. This time, they brought friends. 2 more Krillians followed them inside. These ones wore different uniforms, security forces from other ships. "Look," the leader said loudly. They took the largest table and called for drinks. Marcus brought their order without speaking. The guards watched him, like hunters watching prey. "I heard something interesting," one of the new guards said. "Some humans on level 7 think they can walk around without showing respect. Is that so?" The leader's red eyes turned toward Marcus. "What do you think we should do about that, bartender?" Marcus set down the last glass. "I think people should be able to walk freely." The guards laughed again. But this time, the laughter was meaner, more dangerous. "Freely?" The leader stood up fast, knocking over his chair. "You still do not understand. You still do not understand." He grabbed Marcus by the shirt and pulled him close. Marcus could smell the alien's breath. Hot and metallic. "Your species exists because we allow it. Humans are workers, servants. You clean our messes and bring our drinks. That is all you are good for." Marcus looked directly into the guard's red eyes. "Let go of me." For a moment, something passed between them. The guard's grip loosened slightly, as if he sensed something he did not understand. But then he shook his head and pushed Marcus away. "Get back to work, human. Before I forget why I keep you alive." Marcus straightened his shirt and returned to the bar. But the guards were not finished. Over the next hour, they got louder and meaner. They called over other aliens in the cantina and made them watch as they mocked humans. They told stories about human defeats in old wars. They spoke about humans like they were animals. "The best human is a scared human," one guard announced. "They work harder when they know their place." Some of the other aliens laughed along. Others looked uncomfortable but said nothing. Nobody wanted to make the guards angry. Then a young woman walked into the cantina. Her name was Sarah, and she worked as a waitress in one of the upper-level restaurants. She was maybe 20 years old, with brown hair and nervous eyes. She looked around the room and saw Marcus behind the bar. "Excuse me," she said quietly to Marcus. "My boss sent me to buy some bottles of—" Well, the leader interrupted. He stood up and walked toward her. "What do we have?" Here. Sarah froze. She looked at the massive Krillian approaching her and took a step backward. Another human, the guard said. This one is young. Pretty. I just came to buy some bottles, Sarah said. Her voice was shaking. Did you bow when you entered? The guard asked. Did you show proper respect to your betters? Sarah looked confused. What? The guard reached out and grabbed her arm. I think this one needs to learn some manners. Marcus stopped wiping glasses. His hands went completely still. Please let go, Sarah said. She tried to pull away, but the guard's grip was too strong. Humans who do not show respect must be taught, the guard said. He started to drag Sarah toward their table. We will teach you how to behave. Sarah looked at Marcus with fear in her eyes. Please help me. Marcus set down his glass. He walked out from behind the bar. Let her go, he said. The cantina went dead silent. Every alien in the room turned to stare at Marcus. The other guards stood up slowly. What did you say? The leader asked. I said let her go. Marcus's voice was calm and quiet, but something in it made everyone listen. The guard holding Sarah laughed. Or what, human? Marcus walked closer. His steps were smooth and silent, like a cat walking on soft ground. I will ask you one more time, Marcus said. Let her go. Let her go. Let her go. Let her go. The guard squeezed Sarah's arm harder, making her cry out. Make me, pet. Marcus moved. It happened so fast that most people missed it. 1 second, he was 3 feet away. The next second, his hand was on the guard's wrist. Marcus pressed his thumb into a spot just below the guard's hand. The massive alien's grip opened instantly, like his fingers had stopped working. Sarah pulled free and ran to the far side of the room. The guard stared at his hand in confusion. What did you? Marcus was already stepping back. His face showed nothing, but his eyes were different now. Colder, like winter space between stars. Thank you, Sarah whispered from across the room. Marcus nodded to her. You should go now. Sarah hurried out of the cantina. The guards watched her leave, then turned back to Marcus. How did you do that? The leader demanded. Pressure points, Marcus said simply. Anyone can learn it. But that was not true. The way Marcus had moved, the exact spot he had pressed, that was not common knowledge. That was training. Professional training. The leader stepped closer to Marcus. You are not what you seem, human. Marcus walked back behind his bar. I am a bartender. No, the leader said slowly. You are something else. The guards gathered their things and left. But as they walked out, the leader turned back one more time. We will find out what you are hiding, human. And when we do, you will wish you had stayed quiet. After they were gone, the other customers slowly started talking again. But they kept looking at Marcus with new eyes. Word would spread quickly through the station. The quiet human bartender was not as helpless as he seemed. Marcus went back to cleaning glasses. But his hands shook now, just slightly. Not from fear. From something else. Memories were trying to surface. Old memories he had buried deep. Memories of combat training. Of missions behind enemy lines. Of a war that had cost him everything. He pushed them down and kept working. But deep inside, something was waking up. Something that had been sleeping for 20 years. Something dangerous. Marcus could not sleep. He lay on the small bed in his tiny apartment, staring at the ceiling. Every time he closed his eyes, the memories came back. Memories he had spent 20 years trying to forget. The pressure point technique he had used on the guard was not something a bartender would know. It was military training. Special forces training. He sat up and looked at his hands in the dim light. The scars were still there. Thin white lines across his palms and fingers. Each one told a story. Stories of a war most people preferred to forget. Marcus walked to the small window and looked out at the station corridors. Night cycle had started, and the lights were dimmed. A few late workers hurried past, heading home. He remembered another night, on another station, 20 years ago, during the Terran Resistance War. The enemy had called humans weak. They had said humans were too soft to fight a real war. They were wrong. Marcus had been Colonel Marcus Chen then, leader of the most elite human special forces unit in the galaxy. They called him the Ghost, because he could slip through enemy lines without being seen. He could appear anywhere, strike hard, and vanish before reinforcements arrived. He had been good at killing. Too good. A sound in the corridor brought him back to the present. Heavy footsteps. Multiple sets. Marcus moved away from the window and listened. The footsteps stopped outside his door. He waited in the darkness. Minutes passed. Then the footsteps moved away. They were watching him now. The Krillians knew something was different about him. They would investigate. They would ask questions. Marcus got dressed and left his apartment. He needed to think, and he could not do it while trapped in a small room. The station's lower levels were quiet during night cycle. Most of the shops and bars were closed. Emergency lights cast long shadows on the walls. Marcus walked through empty corridors, his feet making no sound. He found himself in the old cargo bay where he sometimes came to be alone. Huge containers filled the space, stacked 3 stories high. The air was cold and still. This was where the memories hit him hardest. Proxima Station. The siege that had lasted 6 months. His unit had been trapped behind enemy lines, cut off from all support. Everyone said they were dead. But Marcus had led them in a campaign of sabotage that crippled the enemy fleet. Hit and run attacks. Stolen supplies. Destroyed communications. For 6 months, 12 human soldiers had held off an army. They called it the Ghost Campaign. Military schools still studied it. Marcus closed his eyes and saw their faces. Rodriguez, the demolitions expert who could make a bomb from spare parts. Kim, the sniper who never missed. Taylor, the medic who saved everyone except himself. They had died in the final battle. All of them. Marcus had held Kim as he bled out in a destroyed bunker. Had watched Taylor charge into enemy fire to save wounded civilians. Heroes, all of them. Marcus had survived. He was the only one. The sound of metal scraping on metal brought him back to the present. Someone was moving between the cargo containers. Multiple someones. Marcus pressed himself against the wall and listened. Footsteps. Whispered voices in Krillian. They had followed him here. Split up, a voice said. Find the human. The colonel wants answers. Colonel. They were military. Not just station guards. Marcus counted the voices. At least 6. Maybe more. He moved deeper into the cargo bay. Using the containers as cover. His body remembered how to move silently, how to use shadows, how to disappear. 20 years fell away like they had never happened. The ghost was awake. Marcus climbed onto a container and looked down at his hunters. 6 Krillian soldiers moved through the bay with weapons drawn. They were being careful, professional. These were not the bullies from the cantina. These were real military. The lead soldier stopped near Marcus's hiding spot and spoke into a communicator. No sign of the target yet. Are you certain he came this way? Confirmed, came the reply. Security cameras tracked him to Cargo Bay 7. He is there. 8. DO. Copy that, moving to flush him out. The soldiers spread out in a search pattern. They knew their business. But Marcus knew his business too. He dropped silently behind the last soldier in line. A quick strike to the neck, and the alien collapsed without a sound. Marcus caught the body and lowered it gently to the floor. 1 down, 5 to go. Marcus took the soldier's sidearm and checked the power cell. Full charge. He moved to the next target. The second soldier was examining some machinery near the back wall. Marcus approached from behind, moving like a shadow. Another precise strike. Another, silent, takedown. 2 down. The third soldier was harder. He was more alert, constantly turning to check his surroundings. Marcus waited until the alien moved between 2 containers, then struck from above. The soldier started to cry out. But Marcus silenced him quickly. 3 down. Report, the leader called out. I lost contact with the rear team. No answer came. Form up, the leader ordered. Something is wrong. The remaining 3 soldiers moved back to back, watching all directions. Marcus found a loose metal plate on one of the containers. He threw it across the bay, where it clattered loudly against the far wall. 2 soldiers immediately moved toward the sound. The third stayed in position. Marcus dropped onto the lone soldier from above. They went down together, but this one was stronger. He fought back, trying to grab his weapon. They wrestled in the shadows between containers. The Krillian was bigger and stronger, but Marcus was faster and smarter. He used the alien's own weight against him, redirecting his attacks. A chokehold finished it. The soldier went limp. 4 down. 2 to go. Base, we have a problem. One of the remaining soldiers spoke into his radio. The human is... Marcus put a plasma bolt through the radio, destroying it. The soldiers spun toward the flash, firing wildly at shadows. Marcus was already moving. He came at them from the side, low and fast. One soldier turned toward him, bringing his weapon to bear. Too slow. Marcus tackled him, and they crashed into a stack of cargo crates. The alien's weapon went flying. Marcus pinned him down and looked into his eyes. Tell your friends, Marcus said quietly, that humans are not as weak as they think. He struck a nerve cluster on the soldier's neck. The alien went unconscious. 5 down, 1 to go. The last soldier was the leader. He stood alone in the center of the bay, weapon ready, turning slowly in a circle. I know you are there, human, he called out. Show yourself. Marcus stepped out of the shadows. He held no weapon. But somehow, that made him more frightening. Not less. The soldier aimed at Marcus's chest. You are not a bartender. No, Marcus said. I am not. What are you? Marcus thought about that. What was he? A broken veteran hiding from his past? A killer trying to find peace? A man who had lost everything that mattered? Or was he still the ghost? I am someone you should not have bothered, Marcus said finally. The soldier's finger tightened on the trigger. But Marcus was already moving. By the time station security found them an hour later, 5 Krillian soldiers were unconscious and tied up with cargo straps. The 6th was sitting against a wall, staring at nothing. When security asked him what happened, the soldier could only whisper one word over and over. Ghost. Word spread through Nexus Station like fire through dry grass. The quiet human bartender had taken down 6 Krillian soldiers without killing any of them. Station security found the soldiers tied up and unconscious. None of them could explain exactly what had happened. Marcus went to work the next day like nothing had changed. He opened the Void's Rest, cleaned the glasses, and waited for customers. But everything was different now. Aliens who usually ignored him now watched carefully when he moved. Conversations stopped when he walked by. The Yulian trader, who came every day, left extra credits and hurried away without his usual small talk. Marcus knew this would not end quietly. The Krillians would not accept such a defeat. They would come back with more soldiers. Better soldiers. He was right. On the 3rd day, they came in force. Marcus was serving lunch to a group of engineers when the alarm sounded. Emergency lights flashed red throughout the station. A voice came over the speakers. Attention all station residents. Military lockdown is now in effect. Return to your quarters immediately. This is not a drill. Through the cantina windows, Marcus could see armed figures moving through the corridors. Krillian Imperial Marines. Not guards or regular soldiers. Elite troops. The engineers at the bar looked scared. One of them, a human named Peterson, turned to Marcus. "What do you think this is about?" Peterson asked. Marcus knew exactly what it was about, but he said nothing. The cantina's doors burst open. 8 Krillian Marines entered in formation, weapons ready. They wore full combat armor and moved with deadly precision. Behind them came someone Marcus recognized. Commander Vex, the highest-ranking Krillian on the station. He was old for his species, with battle scars covering his scaled face. His red eyes burned with anger. "Everyone out," Vex ordered, except the human behind the bar. The engineers and other customers hurried toward the exits. Peterson looked back at Marcus with worry. But Marcus nodded for him to go. In seconds, the cantina was empty except for Marcus and 9 Krillians. Commander Vex walked slowly toward the bar. His Marines spread out in a half-circle, blocking all exits. "So," Vex said, "you are the bartender who defeated my soldiers." Marcus continued wiping down glasses. "They attacked me. I defended myself. 6 trained soldiers, unconscious, unharmed but completely defeated." Vex leaned against the bar. "That requires very specific skills." "Lucky moves," Marcus said. Vex laughed, but there was no humor in it. "I have been a soldier for 40 years, human. I know luck when I see it." That was not luck. He gestured to one of his Marines. The soldier placed a datapad on the bar. The screen showed a military file. Marcus glanced at it and felt his blood turn cold. His own face looked back at him. 20 years younger, wearing a human military uniform. The name at the top of the file read, Colonel Marcus Chen. Terran Special Operations. Ghost Actual, Vex read from the file. Leader of the most successful deep strike unit in human military history. Confirmed kills. Classified. Operations completed. Classified. Actual. Status. Missing in action. Presumed dead. Marcus set down his glass very carefully. Military intelligence keeps files on all dangerous humans, Vex said. Even ones who are supposed to be dead. Marcus looked at the Marines surrounding him. They were tense, ready for action. These soldiers knew they were facing something dangerous. The Tenevis Ponce Tammany and Sensivideo. They were Mender. That is wide. Waniclude. The ghost of Proxima Station, Vex continued. The human who held off an entire fleet with 12 soldiers. The demon who walked through laser fire and came out alive. That was a long time ago, Marcus said quietly. Yes, 20 years. Long enough for most people to forget. Long enough for you to think you could hide. Vex closed the datapad and looked directly into Marcus's eyes. But you cannot hide what you are. A weapon. The most dangerous human ever created. I am a bartender now. No, Vex said. You are still the ghost. You just pretended to be something else. The commander stood up straight and addressed his Marines. This human is responsible for the deaths of thousands of our people during the war. He is a war criminal who has been hiding in plain sight. Marcus felt something cold settle in his stomach. The war is over. There was a peace treaty. The treaty does not cover war criminals, Vex said, especially ones who faked their own death. One of the Marines stepped forward. Orders, sir? Take him alive, Vex commanded. High Command wants to question him personally. The Marines raised their weapons. 8 military-grade plasma rifles aimed at Marcus's chest. Marcus looked at the weapons. He calculated angles, distances, cover options. His mind automatically began planning an escape route, but there were too many. The angles were wrong. He was trapped behind the bar, with nowhere to run. Surrender, Ghost. Vex said. You cannot win this time. Marcus thought about Sarah, the young waitress he had protected, about Peterson and the other humans on the station, about all the innocent people who would suffer if the Krillians decided to make examples of them. He thought about his old unit. Rodriguez, Kim, Taylor. Heroes who had died fighting for what was right. What would they do? Marcus smiled. It was not a happy smile. You know, he said conversationally, there is something you should understand about humans. What is that? Vex asked. We are very good at making things explode. Marcus reached under the bar and pulled a pin from a small device hidden there. A device he had built weeks ago. Just in case. The lights in the cantina flickered once. Then the emergency power kicked in. What did you do? Vex demanded. Electromagnetic pulse, Marcus said calmly. Small one. Just enough to knock out the lights and communications in this section. The Marines looked around nervously. Their weapons still worked, but their suit electronics were dark. Marcus continued talking in the same calm voice. You see, I have been preparing for this day since I arrived on the station. I know every corridor, every maintenance tunnel, every power coupling. He moved slightly behind the bar. In the dim emergency lighting, his exact position was hard to see. I also know that you brought 8 Marines to arrest 1 bartender. Which means you are either very careful or very scared. Kill him, Vex ordered. The Marines opened fire. Plasma bolts lit up the cantina like lightning. But Marcus was no longer behind the bar. He had dropped through a maintenance hatch, hidden beneath the floor. A hatch he had prepared months ago. From somewhere in the walls, his voice echoed through hidden speakers. The hunt begins now, Commander. Let me show you why they called me the Ghost. The lights went out completely. In the darkness, something metal clattered to the floor. Then the real battle started. The hunt lasted 6 hours. Marcus moved through the station's hidden spaces like a shadow. Maintenance tunnels, service shafts, forgotten storage rooms, places he had mapped during 2 years of careful preparation. The Krillian Marines were good, professional, but they were hunting in his territory now. The first Marine died 20 minutes into the search. He was checking a power junction when Marcus dropped from an overhead vent. One quick strike to the neck, and the soldier collapsed. Marcus took his weapon and vanished back into the darkness. Commander Vex found the body an hour later. All units, report. Marine 2, checking level 7, no contact. Marine 3, Sector 5 clear. Marine 4, silence. Marine 4, respond. Nothing. 2 down. 6 to go. Marcus was in his element now. This was what he had been trained for. What he was built for. The bartender was completely gone. Only the Ghost remained. He used the station's systems against them. Cut power to sections they were searching. Triggered false alarms to split them up. Made sounds in empty corridors to draw them away from civilians. The third Marine died in a cargo bay. Marcus had rigged a simple trap. A loose cable that triggered when stepped on. The Marine went down hard, and Marcus finished him quickly. The fourth tried to be clever. He waited in ambush near the cantina, thinking Marcus would return there. But Marcus came from above, through an air duct. The Marine never saw him coming. 4 down, 4 to go. Commander Vex was getting desperate. He called for reinforcements, but the nearest Krillian ship was hours away. He tried to lock down the station completely, but station security refused to cooperate without proof of wrongdoing. The 5th Marine died protecting Vex himself. Marcus had gotten close enough to the command post to throw a knife. The Marine stepped in front of it and took the blade in his chest. 5 down. 3 to go. 3 to go. By hour 4, the remaining Marines were scared. They had never fought an enemy like this. Someone who could be anywhere. Who knew the station better than they did. Who struck without warning and vanished like smoke. Sir, one Marine said to Vex. Request permission to evacuate non-essential personnel. Denied, Vex snapped. We do not run from one human. Sir. This is what? The Marine looked around nervously. This is the ghost, sir. The stories were true. In the old days, Krillian soldiers told stories about human special forces. Stories that got worse with each telling. Humans who could walk through walls. Who could kill with a touch. Who appeared in your dreams. Most soldiers thought they were just stories. Propaganda. To make humans seem more dangerous than they really were. But some stories were true. The 6th Marine died when he entered a storage room. Marcus had rigged the door with an explosive charge. Not enough to kill, just enough to stun. But the fall finished what the explosion started. 6 down. 2 to go. Commander Vex and his last Marine barricaded themselves in the station's security center. They had weapons, communications, and a good view of the corridors. He cannot get to us here, the Marine said. We just have to wait for backup. Vex was not so sure. He had read the ghost's file carefully. This human had once infiltrated a fortress that everyone said was impossible to breach. The lights went out. Emergency power should kick in, the Marine said. It did not. They sat in complete darkness, weapons ready, waiting for an attack that might come from anywhere. Minutes passed. Then they heard something that made their blood freeze. Singing. A human voice singing an old song. The words echoed through the walls from hidden speakers. When Johnny comes marching home again, hurrah, hurrah. What is he doing? The Marine whispered. Vex knew. Psychological warfare. Making them think about death. About soldiers who never came home. We'll give him a hearty welcome then, hurrah, hurrah. The singing stopped. Then Marcus's voice came through the speakers. Calm and conversational. Commander Vex. I am here, Ghost. Vex replied. I have a proposition for you. I am listening. Your Marines are dead. Your backup is hours away. You are trapped in a room with one exit. And I control everything around you. Vex said nothing. But, Marcus continued, I do not want to kill you. I never wanted to kill anyone. I just wanted to serve drinks and be left alone. Then surrender. Marcus laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. No, Commander. Here is what will happen. You will take your last Marine and leave this station. You will report that the ghost is dead. You will never come back. And if I refuse, then I will show you why Proxima Station fell. The lights came back on, but something was wrong. The security cameras showed empty corridors, but in one camera, a figure moved quickly past. Then another camera showed the same figure in a different section. Then another. Impossible, the Marine breathed. He cannot be in 3 places at once. But the cameras did not lie. The ghost was everywhere. Vex realized the truth. Marcus had spent months preparing for this, recording himself in different locations, setting up false signals, creating the illusion of being everywhere at once. It was brilliant, terrifying, and completely effective. Your answer, Commander? Vex looked at his last Marine. The soldier was young, scared, and far from home. He did not deserve to die for Vex's pride. We will leave, Vex said finally. Good choice. 20 minutes later, Commander Vex and his surviving Marine walked to their ship. Other aliens on the station watched them go. Word had already spread about what happened. 8 elite Krillian Marines had come to arrest 1 human bartender. Only 2 were leaving. The ghost had returned. Marcus watched them go from a hidden observation post. When their ship was gone, he made his way back to the cantina. The bar was destroyed, tables overturned, walls scorched by plasma fire, broken glass everywhere. Marcus looked around at the wreckage and sighed. Then he went to get a broom. As he cleaned, Other humans began to arrive. Peterson, the engineer. Sarah, the waitress. Others who had heard what happened. "Marcus," Peterson said. "Are you all right?" Marcus looked up from his sweeping. These people saw him differently now. Not as a quiet bartender, but as something else. Something dangerous but protective. "I am fine," Marcus said. "What will you do now?" Sarah asked. "They know who you are." Marcus thought about that. The secret was out. He could never be just a bartender again. But maybe that was not such a bad thing. "I think," Marcus said slowly, "that I will open a new bar. Upstairs. In the nice section." "What will you call it?" Peterson asked. Marcus smiled. For the first time in years, it was a real smile. "Chen's Place," he said. "Where everyone is welcome, and everyone is safe." Word spread quickly through the galaxy. The ghost of Proxima Station was alive. He was running a bar on Nexus Station, and he was protecting humans again. Some species thought this was dangerous news. Others thought it was wonderful. But everyone agreed on one thing. You did not mess with the customers at Chen's Place. Marcus found peace at last. Not by hiding from what he was, but by choosing how to use it. He was still the ghost. But now he was the ghost who served drinks and told stories, and made sure that humans could walk safely through the galaxy. And when trouble came looking for his people, they learned the same lesson the Krillians had learned. Some bartenders used to be warriors, and warriors never really retire.